If you're ready to take your meta ad seriously, you need to be able to properly manage your budget and plan your campaigns. And today I'm going to break down everything that you need to know. Stuff that I tell folks that are spending $50 a day and brands that I work with that are spending over $100,000. What you need to know on where to spend your money, what types of campaigns to run, and how to set up your campaigns for success is right here. Now, if you like these kinds of videos, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you love this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe. There's a lot of other links down below, but let's not waste any more time and get right to it. Now we're going to cover three very important topics here. First, the ideal meta budget. We're also going to touch base on the learning phase as well as CBO versus ABO. I'm also going to break down exactly how campaigns work, and then we'll dive into how the Facebook algorithm actually works. So that being said, let's get into how to know your ideal meta budget. So the first thing we need to do here is establish a runway. This is your total budget and total time that you can invest. So let me give you a quick example of what this might look like. Say you have $10,000 in the bank and you're giving yourself 3 months to either make this work or walk away. That means you have roughly a little bit over $100 a day that you can invest. That is now your ideal budget. If you spend that $10,000 and can't make it work, you know to walk away, but every bit of revenue you make out of that $10,000 spent is more time, right? So if you spend $10,000 and have nothing, well, you're out. But if by the end of that $10,000 you have $5,000, well, you could continue to go. If you have $20,000, you can continue to go and potentially scale your budgets. The point of this is clearly identifying your time and your money to determine whether or not this is worth any future investment. That is the single best way on day one of knowing exactly how much you should be spending. Now, another way of looking at this is how much of your profits can you afford to spend? Putting money into ads instead of the bank. If my business is making on average $250 profit per day, could I invest 20% of that into ads to try to see if I can grow that number? If I'm investing $50 of my $250 into meta ads, then I'm not actually really losing money, I'm just investing in potential. So let's do another real world example of this. Let's say my business on average is making between $200 and $300 profit a day. Let's say it's $250. Could I invest 20% of that money that I would otherwise put in the bank into meta ads to potentially grow my business? Well, 20% of $250 is $50. That would let us know what our actual allowable meta budget is. And because we're willing to invest that 20%, that is our ideal meta budget. Which ultimately brings us to the last point here, which is a total loss investment. And this is thought of how much can you afford to lose. Investing in growth is rarely profitable on day one. The important thing to remember here is that you're likely not going to be making money right out of the gate. Your business wasn't super profitable the day you started. If you have a retail business, it wasn't like you were super successful in the first week. It takes time to grow these things. So when we're looking at a total loss investment, or how much money can we afford to lose, that really sets us up for success by allowing us to look at the bigger picture. In the examples we've given today, that total loss investment might be $10,000 over the next 90 days. Or it might be 20% of operating profits. If we know we can lose that money and continue to move forward, that is our ideal meta budget. So let's dive into a little bit more of our campaign planning. And what I want to talk about today is the learning phase. And this is really important to understand. One of our primary focuses around our budget and campaign planning is to get out of learning. When planning our budgets and our campaigns, we want to focus on getting out of learning. Remember that ads that are in our learning phase are less stable and as such, less scalable. The learning phase is basically Meta's way of telling you, I am not confident yet in delivering you a consistent result. Now, maybe the results are really good, maybe they're really bad. Odds are they're gonna be good for the first few days, then they're gonna tank for a little bit, and then they're gonna rise back up to some sort of nominal level. And we have to remember that this is all part of the game, right? The waves go up and down and eventually they level off. And our number one focus is to get to that leveling off point quickly and then ultimately improve it so that we can scale. That's what optimization and scaling our ad accounts is all about. And there are a lot of folks that look at those first few days and get super excited and then see the next few days and get completely deterred. The point is, this is all something we can expect. So let's get through this phase as fast as we can and then focus on making everything better. So now that we know that, how do we plan to get out of the learning phase quickly? And this brings us to the next point. How much does each sale cost you? We have to remember that this is also a platform cost per result versus an actual blended cost. What's important to remember here is that the data inside of Meta is only built on what it can see. And this is where attribution comes into play. A lot of people think attribution is around what credit Meta takes for results, but really it's just about what results are you letting Meta see to ultimately make more decisions. And what's really important to understand is if you make 100 sales in your business, but Meta only sees 1 sale, then that means getting out of the learning phase is gonna take 100 times longer. Which brings us to our final point. How many actions can you afford to buy within a week? Each ad set might require 10 to 25 results in a week to learn. So if we know, for instance, that it costs us $10 to buy an action, that means we should expect to have to spend at least $100 to $250 within a 7-day period to get our effort out of the learning phase. And this is where our budget and our campaign planning really come together. Our campaign should be simple enough to get out of the learning phase quickly, and our budget should be enough to support that effort. Continuing our conversation on campaign planning, let's cover CBO versus ABO real. This can be thought of as where do we set the budget, either at the campaign level or at the ad set level. We also need to decide how much control do we want to have and where do we want to apply that control. And in ABO, or when we set the budgets at the ad set level, we control where the budget goes. The thing that you really need to understand here is that the machine is really smart. It's actually the smartest artificial intelligence to condition human behavior ever invented. We know that. We've gone through exactly how detailed all of that information is. The question is, do you want to leverage the machine by putting your budget at the campaign level? Or do you want to micromanage the machine and basically say, I'm going to use the world's most powerful machine, but not for what it's actually good at doing? Which is why ABO is thought of as the old way. And long story short, ABO for 99% of you is not the way. Every single campaign you launch should have a clearly defined business objective that is not only trackable, but improvable. So that being said, let's get to these 3 quick points. You need to define your goal for each campaign. What is the one thing we want our ads to do? And to determine our one thing, we need to clearly define what is our definition of success. Put a number to the goal. One of the simplest ways of doing this is taking out a sticky note and putting a number on it. And you know everything either above that number is great or below that number is great, but clearly define it. Is it number of new customers? Is it volume of revenue? Is it total blended CPA? Make sure that this is a quantifiable thing. It should be a hard and fast number, and know whether more than that number or less than that number means that you're doing a good job. And the last part of our campaign planning is understanding our ad assets. Do we have copy? Do we have creative? Do we have our landing pages built? What about any tools that we're going to be using? Perhaps A/B split testing for landing pages, or something for post-transactional upsells, something to capture email addresses. Let's make sure we know and have tracked and have written down all of the things that are going to go into our customer journey when they see the ad and when they click on the ad. So there you have it, everything you need to know about budget and campaign planning. Now, if you're ready to throw gasoline on the fire, I made this here for you. And you can dive into it. It's step-by-step, even more deep detail on your next steps. And check that out. Until next time, I'll see you on the internet. Bye.